Have you ever said no to getting guac at Chipotle but have no problem throwing a couple $100 down on a random basketball game on a Tuesday night? That's a problem. That's what gambling does to you. It completely rewires your brain and completely changes how you see money. You stop thinking in dollars and you start thinking in units. Before I go deeper into this, if you care about how gambling changes your mind and changes your relationship with money, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm breaking down things that very few people are willing to say because I actually lived it, and I hope people don't fall into the same trap I did. When you start betting in units, a $100 bet doesn't feel like a $100 bet anymore. It's just one unit or whatever you choose for your units. It muddies the water and it removes the emotion. And really, if you think about it, it's the same thing that casinos do with poker chips. It doesn't feel the same when you're throwing down $100 in poker chips as it does if you're throwing down a $100 bill. And ironically enough, gamblers love it because it's easier for us to hide what we're actually doing. You can hide from the reality. You might know in the back of your head that you're down money on the week, but if you say I'm only down 10 units, it doesn't feel as bad. Going back to that Chipotle story, I remember sitting in line, and you know how you always ask the person like, hey, throw a little extra rice or a little extra chicken in there, but I knew I wasn't going to get the guac at the end because in my head it was already a ripoff and too expensive. And the funny part about that is I literally remember I had a $500 bet on Russian ping pong. So that bet probably ended right after I paid for my food. So 30-second bet was worth $500, but that $2 extra for guac, no way, such a ripoff. And that's really how disconnected I was with money and just kind of like my reality in general. Winning didn't feel like I was earning anything because I would just roll that into my next bet. And if I lost, it wasn't really like I was spending any money. It was just that every bet was, a fluke or that's rigged or that's just some bullshit. So of course I'm, not going to look at it the same way. And that doesn't stop at just Chipotle. That bleeds into everything else. When you're gambling heavy, nothing else matters. Everything else is a ripoff. Anytime you have to spend money on anything, it's a ripoff. Going out to dinner, waste of money, too expensive. Ordering from Uber Eats, which, by the way, I have a good story about that one. That's a ripoff. Buying new clothes, waste of money. $15 movie ticket, waste of money. While those are all true, it's irrelevant because you're betting thousands of dollars in a week and you're losing. But again, when you don't want to face reality, you convince yourself that those are all a ripoff and it's not worth doing. You'll complain about inflation at the grocery store and saying the grocery prices are getting out of control while you've got rent money on a live parlay. Like, it's just absurd. If you think about it, it's really the craziest contradiction. Gambling just turns you into this like super cheap person that any inconvenience that takes away from your gambling is the biggest thing in the world. Like, you forget about wanting to spend time with friends and family, especially if it's going to get drinks or hanging out or going to a restaurant, doing new things, going to a concert. You don't want to do any of that because A, you can't afford it because you're gambling. And two, it takes money away from your ability to gamble more. And then you just become reckless about the things that actually take it away. It's pretty sickening, actually, if you think about it. You have to understand why you do it. And ultimately, I think that reason is because that win could happen. That win that you think is going to change your life could happen. But if you go out to dinner, you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel full. You're going to have a good meal, or I guess maybe a bad one. But ultimately, you know the outcome. And that's what makes gambling so addictive. It's repeatable systems like pulling a slot machine or placing a bet after every game and betting the entire board. But you also have to think about the unpredictable rewards that come with it. You don't know when that win is going to happen, even though you, as a gambler or specifically a sports bettor, you think every bet you place is going to win and you get mad that you're not hitting 100%. But you ultimately don't know when that parlay will hit. So the thing is, you can always reload, you can always chase bets, and you're going to, unless you make changes. You can always convince yourself that you're just one win away from getting out of debt. But here's the thing, if you've gambled out of debt or out of a hole before, and you'll tell yourself, I know this because I've done it, you'll tell yourself that once you get back to zero, you'll stop. But ultimately, once you get back to zero, you probably had to go on this insane heater, and you end up getting back to zero or climbing out of that hole, and then it becomes the new justification for you to gamble again. Oh, I can't stop now, I'm on a heater. Oh, well, if I climb myself out of the hole one time, I can do it again. But you're forgetting about the 10 other holes that you never climbed out of. And that's like the number one thing. You know you have a problem when you start setting rules for yourself. Like an alcoholic says, oh, no liquor, or just beer, or just wine, or setting a 2-drink maximum. When it comes to gambling, it's, oh, 1 bet a day, or I'm going to pick 1 game from each slate of games on a Sunday, or I'm going to set win-loss limits. But the thing is, you blow right through them every single time. Like, you might be good for a day or two, but ultimately you end up blowing right past them. And that's where it becomes a problem. So if you're setting limits for yourself or rules for yourself and you're blowing right by them, again, you probably are a problem gambler. And by the way, that relationship with money doesn't change overnight. I mean, I haven't bet in about 18 months and it still creeps its way back in when it comes to money. Like, I'll look at a pair of shoes and think, $100 isn't that bad. Well, number one, that's expensive regardless of what it is. But when you're used to putting $10,000 on the first quarter over-under of European basketball, sure. Yeah, $100 for a pair of shoes isn't going to sound all that bad. Here's the difference now. I actually know how hard it is to make $100. If you want to rewire your relationship with money, and I'm dead serious about this, go do Uber Eats for a weekend. It'll completely change your perspective. And I know this because that's what I do now. I need to make some extra cash to start supporting my life and getting myself out of debt. But go drive Uber Eats and see how long it takes you to make $100. It's probably going to take 10 to 12 hours, especially early on. I'll never forget this. You might drive and make like a 30-minute delivery and then you get the tip come through on the app and it's 30 cents. That's insane. And I know tip culture is kind of out of control, but tip your Uber drivers. At that point, just tip me $0. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but like, just give me $0. 30 cents is like a total slap in the face. But again, it took me 10 hours to make that $100. But I was betting my rent money on a, 2.5 hour Sunday football game and then betting the rest of the evening. But that is one of the things that actually grounded me for real and like just solidified the fact that, wow, gambling completely warped my relationship with money. Because when you're out there like hustling for real, and I don't just mean, you're working your 9 to 5. Yes, that's a grind, but go do something that's really difficult where you don't make a lot of money and it'll change your perspective really, really quickly. And the other thing too, thinking back on just the idea of units, it's also another way for us to completely hide our gambling issues, especially when it comes to betting with your buddies, for example. Like, I remember texting friends thinking like, do you love this game or just like it? Like, should we max bet it? And we agreed to max betting. So we both put 5 units on it. He's like a, $25 unit better, I think. I didn't even really use units when I was really in the heart of it. It was just like throw whatever I could. So I had several $1,000s on it. But he had no idea because he's betting 5 units at 25. I'm betting 5 units and he has no idea. So when the bet loses and he sees me like freaking the hell out over it, he's like, why are you so mad? I'm like, cause that was BS that we lost. Like, and he's like, whatever, like we'll bet on the next one. It's fine. But he doesn't understand how much I had on it. And there's nothing worse when you guys would actually bet opposite sides and then your buddy starts talking smack to you about the game and said you should have tailed him or whatever. And you're like, dude, if only you freaking knew how much I just lost. But that's the nature of the beast. And again, that's what gambling does to you. It just disconnects you from reality. And that is why it becomes also really hard to stop because, again, you stop seeing money as money. It's just fuel to gamble more. And that is a really, really dangerous way to live. So if you want to figure out how to change your relationship with money and gambling, you have to go back to earning it. You can't take out loans to gamble. You have to start paying that stuff off because you're not going to get out of debt by taking on more debt to gamble. It doesn't work that way. Respect what it takes to earn $1. For me, that was doing Uber Eats. Partially out of necessity, but partially because it was working in terms of changing my perspective of it. Again, if this hit home for you, if you've ever been in the Chipotle line and didn't get the guac because it's too expensive or it's a ripoff while sweating out a $100 bet, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to keep doing videos like this.